4 radio stations in one great app. MCBN Media Group app is a must-have app for all global Pinoys who love music. Free to download. Pinoy Radio, today's best Filipino music, plays the latest pop music with a mix of good old throwback OPM hits. Crossway, the right hit music mix. America's Top 40 CHR Internet Radio slides back from the 90s and 2000s playlist. And today, Jeepney Pinoy Radio. Tara, sakay na! Let's rock and roll! The alternative way to listen mainstream and Pinoy indie music, OPM rock, and rap. Handpicked into one great playlist with live and acoustic versions. Plus, featured Tunog Kalye faves. MCBN Radio, 24/7 of the most listened American and British throwback hits from the 70s and 80s. With live broadcast feature and serving as the voice of the community. MCBN TV, live TV programs and mainstream blogs from great entertainment personalities and social media influencers. Download now. Heard the name Jezebel de Venecia? The lady is into a lot, like realtor, investor, business owner. Get this, risk taker. But what I love most is money maker. She deals with professionals, people from real estate business, strategists, specialists, as well as influencers and artists. Learn from her. Get the knowledge you need. Catch the latest trends. Know more about buying your own home. She's definitely the right person for these kinds of discourse and related questions. Kaya ngayong linggo, catch the program Bahay Kubo to Mansion. At sa tulong niya, make your dreams and goals. Live on PinoyRadio.com and MCBN.TV.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for tuning in to Bahay Kubo to Mansion. Grab yourself some coffee and just relax. We will be talking to Coach Roel today, and he is a gentleman who has done it all. He's retired twice, he's written a book, he's an entrepreneur, and most of all, he lives in Florida, sunny state, Florida. So welcome, Coach Roel.
Thank you, Jezebel. Thank you for having me. It's an honor and a pleasure.
Thank you. I know I'm so honored that you're here in presence, because we were supposed to do this in Zoom.
Yeah.
But it turns out that, you came back to Canada.
Yeah, worked out really well.
Yeah. So how long have you been in Toronto for now?
For now,
Yeah.
this trip, just about a week or so.
And how long ago since you moved to Florida?
We moved down to Florida in 2017, in October of 2017, with the sole purpose of just getting one investment property. And then once we had set that up, the plan was to just go back to Toronto, Mississauga, where we still have a house. And then we were just going to set up our winter home. But then when we bought that first home and we realized we were living like locals, we're like, let's flip the script and see how we can stay down in Florida 80% of the time and then come back to Canada maybe 20% of the time.
That's amazing. You still have family here?
Oh, yeah, lots. Yeah.
By the way, I met Coach Roel about 4 years ago, and he was also teaching with Legacy, I think.
Yes.
You were teaching about real estate investment at the time. That was before COVID. And that's how I got to meet you. But we know the same people because he went to Ryerson.
Yeah.
And he was in like singing groups, I just found out, which is so cool.
Yeah.
And were you a president of FCOR at some point?
At one point, yeah. I was president of the Filipino-Canadian Association of Ryerson. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we used to join the events that you guys, thank you for that. Because of those association, we met lots of people. A lot of my friends met their significant others
through
those events
because there's people did.
So thank you, and it's
and
nice to reminisce.
You were a little bit underage for some of those events, which
I was.
We won't focus on.
I was, because I was in high school and we were doing, I was in a dance group and we were dancing, but I know you were singing at one event.
Yeah.
And then
and then telling rude jokes at the second event. This was super skills, which still goes on today. Which
I
is
didn't know
amazing.
that.
Yeah.
I really didn't know that. That's really amazing. So how long is that now? I don't want to age ourselves, but
Gosh, it's easily over 25 years. Yeah, since that first started.
wow. And you were also one of your previous jobs which I wanted to touch on, was you were a financial advisor.
Yes, for
So,
over 8 years.
Okay, so what were you doing there?
Basically, the basic advice of go to school, get a job, save your money, pay down your mortgage, hold for the long term, and then hopefully you can retire when you're old.
So that's the advice that was being taught to you, and then you're teaching that to, I guess, whoever is in your team.
Yes, that's what I was preaching to people, hoping that I could help people in that way, which is basically, the basic advice that sounds kind of common sense. Don't spend too much. Contribute to your RSPs and your retirement funds, and then hopefully one day you'll have enough to be able to not work anymore.
That's the fundamentals we thought back then, right? So what about now? What do you think of that advice?
I think, can I speak freely?
Yeah.
I think it's terrible advice.
Really?
Yeah, but I have to give it some context.
Okay.
Depends
Please
on
do.
where you're coming from. Are you
Okay.
a consumer or a producer? So consumer is the probably 80-90% of the population where they trade their time for money. So if you have only one income stream, the traditional I have a job, JOB, or sometimes referred to as just over broke.
Just over broke. I never
Right.
heard of that.
You have
before.
that paycheck, you're living paycheck to
Yeah.
paycheck. Then that's good advice, honestly.
But that's like 90% of the people.
That is 90% of the people, but also the same 90% of the people dream about one day having financial independence and then beyond that, financial freedom. So it's kind of ironic to be going down a path and being like, oh, I really want to have financial freedom and be able to retire early and all this, but yet I have one stream of income. The only way I can bring money into my life is by trading my hours for someone else's dollars. So in that context, saving your money, paying down your debt, minimize your taxes, hold for the long term. If that's all that you know how to do, then it's good advice to do that.
That's probably what my parents did. That is what my parents did.
And it can work over the long term. However, from my experience as when I was a financial advisor, I got to see people at all ends of their life stages. So people just starting out their working years, just entering the workforce, all the way to the octogenarians, 85 plus years old, 5 million plus net worth, house was fully paid down, and saw what that mindset has done for them as well. And spoiler alert, what I saw from my clients who are over 80 plus, who spent their whole life saving, scrimping, saving, sacrificing, paying down their mortgage, all that, holding for the long term. By the time they get to 80 plus years old with a liquid net worth of over 5 million, not even mentioning the fact they own their home free and clear. The interesting thing, Jezebel, is their mindset is they're scared to spend any money.
What? You can't even
They're so-
enjoy it?
Exactly.
They enjoy this like wealth?
They're so conditioned to scrimp and save and sacrifice so that they can have a comfortable retirement that when they're actually there,
That's
they
not
can't-
comfortable retirement.
they can't get out of that mindset. So they're still scrimping and saving and sacrificing for what? For someday in the future when they'll enjoy their money at some point? Well, dude, you're already 85 years old. You don't have that many days left.
Yeah, and even if they did wanted to do some other like vacation travels, there's not much that you can do.
Physically, and that's a whole other point too.
Yeah.
Is like, why are we living this and why are we perpetuating? I'm going to get hardcore here. So why are we perpetuating this myth that someday, maybe in the future, we'll be able to live the life that we truly want to live? What, when you're physically less capable? You are never going to be more beautiful and more physically capable than you are today. That's just a fact. It's so obvious. You don't even have to say it. Thank you, Mr. Obvious. But like,
live in the now. You
10
always
years
hear
from
that.
now, 10 years from now, are your knees going to be better or worse? Is your back going to be better or worse?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So why deferring this lifestyle to someday, maybe in the future? Why not have at least some of it or heck, even all of it now?
Is that why one of the reasons that you were also moved? Because,
Oh
the
yeah, for
lifestyle
sure.
in Florida is quite different from here.
Yeah, for one thing, it's warmer, it's sunnier,
You
and
have flip flops?
I truly, yeah, like every day I'm in flip flops and shorts and t-shirt or a golf shirt, and it's just like why are we suffering? Like let's call a spade a spade. We're Filipino, right? We are tropical species.
Oh, yeah.
we're not
Yeah.
we're not evolutionarily prepared to deal
For
with
this
snow.
weather. Yeah.
Right.
I get sad syndrome sometimes if it's in the winter. If there's no sun for, let's say, a good week or two, I'm just going nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a real thing.
It-
It's a real
it's
seasonal affective
yeah.
disorder is a real thing. Coming back here, we got here from today, probably about a week and a half ago. And sure, there was actually a few sunny days, which was a nice surprise. But when it was overcast and gloomy and drizzly, oh my gosh, headache. I feel unmotivated physically. I feel tired. It's a huge difference. And then when you're in somewhere like the Sunshine State in Florida, you're there for 3 days of bright sunshine, plus the palm trees and the warm weather and all that. You literally become a different person.
You are really living the life of what a lot of our generations will be wanting, because I would like to retire to somewhere sunny. Of course, Philippines is still there because I was born there, but my kids are here. They're gonna be grown up here. Hopefully my grandkids. So I just want to be a hop, skip, and a jump. So Florida is the next best thing.
Yeah.
I'm assuming. Well, that's just for my perception, because
Well,
it's 3 hours drive. I mean, 3 hours flight.
Half a day's worth of travel.
I've driven to Florida with our kids. It's not bad. It's about 22 hours, but we cut it up.
Yeah.
It's
You stay
cheaper.
one place overnight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot cheaper for 4 people.
It can be, yeah. Or you could drive across the border to Buffalo and take a regional flight.
Is that what you did?
That's what we do often, yeah.
So has nothing to do now with Bahay Kubo to Mansyon, but it's still savings. How much is the difference?
Oh, I don't know off the top of my head because my wife usually books those. But from what she said, it was like less than half the price for the flights. We have 5. There's me and my wife, and
Yeah.
then the 9-year-old, 7-year-old, and then infant on lap. So she's 23 months.
Boy, you're busy.
Yeah. And then, so she said it's like less than half the cost of a direct flight from Orlando to Pearson Airport on Air Canada. But then we also have to rent a car.
It's
So-
still the cost is still cheaper, right?
It's still cheaper. Yeah.
Because you're gonna need a car if you're here. If you're not using your.
But it's not just that it's cheaper; it's also convenient because then we have friends that are in Niagara. We have friends and family in Niagara, Grimsby's, who will make a stop either coming up from Florida or going back down. And then we need a van anyways for the 2 to 3 weeks that we're here when we're
Yeah.
here.
It's
So it all
cheaper.
just kind of works out.
And it's cheaper to rent a car across the border too.
Yeah, it tends to be. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're getting off topic. Off topic.
No,
So
but this
what
is kind of on
yeah,
topic
it's-
because that's part of the lifestyle. It's like, oftentimes people ask me, it's like, how did you do it? How can you have both? Oh, I don't want to leave Canada. But then I have to clarify and qualify what people are saying is this lifestyle that they perceive that I live. And this, what we just talked about, it makes it practical. You can have both and. We were just talking prior to when we hit record.
Yeah.
Is you can have both and. You don't have to choose either Canada or Florida or either Toronto or Manila. You can have the best of both worlds if you want. I just happen to choose the perfect balance in our lives between Canada and Florida.
And now these days, technology does help because you can still work, even if, let's say, you work from home, right? So you can work from home and be in a nice weather. And its cost of living what is cost of living like in Florida?
It's a mixed bag. So you have to kind of know as well where the locals get their groceries, kind of thing. And eating out is more expensive over there. Because in Toronto, comparatively, there's a lot of restaurants. There's a lot of competition, which in classic economics 101, competition is good for the consumer. Down there, there's not that. There's a bunch of chain restaurants. So eating out is a little bit more expensive. But on other different measurements, cost of living, I think on average is cheaper. It's more affordable down there.
So let's talk about, you have a snowbird coaching. This is for people who really wants to move, like what you're doing, in like a lifestyle or a second home. What should they be looking for? Like in terms, should they be looking for what they want to do in their life? Is that like stage of life? Is that one of the factors?
Well, it's the program is called Snowbird Investor, and it's right now is focusing mainly on helping Canadians launch a Florida property investing business. Right? And so it's kind of open to interpretation a little bit, but what I like to, I guess, preach to people is what we were just talking about. You can have the best of both worlds. You don't have to give up Canada to be able to have a little bit of Florida in your lifestyle. You know how you've grown up here in Toronto, so non-Filipino friends, you probably have friends that have cottages,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And so Canadian culture, a big part of Canadian culture is having a cottage. So growing up and even professional life, people in the office would say, oh, I'm going to open up the cottage for the season. They're going to drive up north or out east and prepare their cottage for use for the summer season. And then at the end of the season in the fall, they say, I'm going to go up to the cottage one last time, close it up for the winter. So that's fine and well and good. We had lots of friends and office mates and acquaintances inviting us up to their cottage for that lifestyle, and it's great. But when my wife and I thought, well, we would like to have a vacation property, we don't want to go to a cottage in summer. We want to go down south to palm trees, sun sand and palm trees in the winter.
In the winter.
So where it all started for us is we took a mini retirement to the Philippines, where we spent 3 months in the Philippines in 2015, January, February, March 2015. And I thought that was great. And it's like, oh, we're earning Canadian dollars. And this is part and parcel with my philosophies and the teachings is we're earning in a strong currency, but then we're spending in a weaker currency. Earning in Canadian dollars, spending in Philippine pesos. So you can live like a kings and queens when you look at it that way. And from there, we thought, that's a bit much because it's 21 hours in the air, right? Flying. And the political climate, and there's a totally different North America. It's different from doing business in North America. Then when we were itching to get out into the sun again, a few years later, we thought, well, Florida is much closer. Let's just do a traditional 10-day vacation, but then let's do it intelligently. And so we made it a business trip. More on that later if we can get to it.
Yeah.
And then we discovered that, oh my gosh, everyone knows about Florida and Canada.
Yeah.
It's a well-known thing. So how about we just buy a place here and we can come down to Florida like for a weekend if we wanted to.
It's great to know that you're at this age. You're not technically 65, because when you think of people who are snowbirds, people are retired.
People.
They're old people. They're 65, so they need to go there because their bones are, it's too cold for the weather. So it's great to know that this lifestyle is available to like normal people now, normal different age groups now.
Exactly.
But in terms of what is the difference between, I think we got to go on break, right? Well, I just want to know what does a $1 million look like in Florida compared to one in Toronto?
Real quick, in Toronto, you're probably going to get a 2+1 bedroom raised bungalow, maybe a basement, 1,200 square feet. In Orlando, the equivalent amount of money probably will get you about a 5-bedroom, 4-bath house over 3,300 square feet.
Wow, really? And that's including, a lot of them come with a pool.
Potentially with a pool as well.
Okay, we're going to go on break and we're going to talk about the difference between the Toronto and what you can get in Florida.
Yes.
And much more. So, thank you. We'll see you in about a minute or so.
Ang programang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng Action Honda, where car ownership is made easy. Located at 4334 Kingston Road, Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
Kumusta kabayan? Ito si Rafael Nebres, General Manager ng Action Honda. Para makatipid, mapabilis, pagbili ng Honda sasakyan, kami laging may paraan. Laging may sales events at promotion, tama sa iyong kakayahan. Please call us at 416-281-1234, 416-281-1234. Bibili ka o hindi, it's always my pleasure to talk to a kababayan. Mabuhay!
The Traveling Filipino Festival is back. Canada Fiesta Extravaganza Year 2023 in giving our kababayans and other race and ethnicity as well a taste of Pinoy culture, tradition, entertainment, a variety of foodie goodies, and a bunch of souvenirs na tatak Noy P. Well, join us for the Canada Fiesta Extravaganza 6 years strong, an event that unites the Filipino community together, bringing the experience to Toronto, Vaughan, Niagara, Hamilton, Montreal, and now in Surrey, British Columbia, and Miramichi, New Brunswick. This year's celebration of the Filipino heritage is like Miramichi, and let me use the phrase, it's more than you ever expected and never less than you can imagine. Join us this year in a whole enchilada of Pinoy Fiesta treats. It's epic. Canada Fiesta Extravaganza 2023. I wouldn't miss it for the world. Caregivers, unite! Your show is here. ATC. Eto tayong mga caregivers. Caregivers na nasa ibang parte ng ating mundo o nasa Canada mismo. Sama ka na sa palatuntunang tutugon sa iyong mga hinaing. Sasagot sa mga isyong bumabagabag sa inyong damdamin. Pag-uusapan ang mga temang napapanahon at mga hamon sa buhay ng mga caregivers ng kasalukuyang panahon. ATC, kasama ang inyong ating ATV Pagaduan. Heard the name Jezebel de Venecia? The lady is into a lot, like realtor, investor, business owner. Get this, risk taker. But what I love most is money maker. She deals with professionals, people from real estate business, strategists, specialists, as well as influencers and artists. Learn from her. Get the knowledge you need. Catch the latest trends. Know more about buying your own home. She's definitely the right person for these kinds of discourse and related questions. Kaya ngayong linggo, catch the program Bahay Kubo to Mansion. At sa tulong niya, make your dreams and goals. Live on PinoyRadio.com and MCBN.TV.
Thank you. We're back to Bahay Kubo to Mansion, talking to Coach Roel, and we're talking about moving to Florida. So, Coach Roel, I know internally, I could probably move there if I wanted to, but there's always something stuck in my mind that I can't change. Like I don't think I could do it. That's me. I don't think I can move there. All my life are here. All my family's here. So, how did you get that mindset switch for yourself?
I truly believe it starts with your self-image. So, if you see yourself as the way you see yourself, whatever it is, good, bad, or ugly, you got to start by changing that picture first. Because if you can't, if you don't have, it's kind of like when you're putting together, those 2,000-piece jigsaw puzzles, and you look at the box, and there's a beautiful picture, but then when you open up that box, you've got 2,000 pieces that are just scattered. How do you even begin to put together the picture? Well, there's a great analogy that we can take from that is if you think of the puzzle box pieces as your life, how do you know where to begin if you don't have a picture on the box to begin with, right? So people say, oh yeah, I would love to have more free time. I would love to retire early. I'd love to travel. That's all very surface level. And quite frankly, a bit of a waste of time if you don't take it a step further. Because if you sit down with a travel agent or travel consultant, for example, and they ask you, okay, where would you like to travel to? And you tell them, I'd love to travel more often. Okay, well, Jezebel, that doesn't help me. Where do you want to go? Can you be more specific? Yeah, you're in the right place. I can help you. Is it the travel agent's fault that they can't help you travel more often? Or is it your fault that you weren't specific enough to the travel agent?
It's probably my fault.
The travel agent is like, we're going to go deep here. The travel agent is like the universe. You tell the universe, I want to travel more often. The universe is going to say, okay.
Sure thing.
But you got to give us a destination. So be specific. So similarly, going back to the jigsaw puzzle analogy, is you got to start off with a picture of what you want your life to be like detailed. Don't just say, I want to travel more often. I want to spend more time with family and friends. That's all very surface level. Take it 2 or 3 levels deeper. I want to travel. Where? Okay, how about Orlando or how about Florida? Choose a city. Can you be more specific? When would you like to go? What would that look like? How would you realistically bring your spouse and your kids, and how would that all fit? So detail that picture first, and then going again with the jigsaw puzzle analogy, you start by framing the outside. You know, the pieces
with
the one
on
with
the corners.
Yeah, you find the 4 corners,
Yeah.
you find the straight edges, you frame it.
Yeah.
And then you eventually start building it in from there. But you're always looking at the picture box, the picture on top of the puzzle box as your frame of reference. And that's what I'm trying to build with all these pieces. So as you go forward, you start to meet people that will mention, again, well, let's just keep with the Florida analogy because that's my specialty. You start to come across people like maybe this podcast or this recording saying, oh, there's some dude, really good-looking guy that's speaking to Jezebel that is talking about Florida. And hey, honey, we've been talking about Florida and the potential. So it's up to you to then either do something with it or do nothing, right? That's the puzzle piece that comes up. And then little by little, the more energy that you put out there, the more focus, you start to build that picture. So number 1, start with the picture. Detailed.
Well, you know what? I don't know if you remember this, but part of the exercise for legacy was, what is your why?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I still have that. It's and it's very detailed.
Good.
Yeah.
When was the last time you reviewed it, though?
I reviewed it this weekend, and I also have a vision board.
Good.
A vision board, and I also have a book. But I gotta redo the vision board and add some stuff because some of those stuff are, check, done,
Yeah, good.
bucket list, right?
Yeah.
So I just gotta add more into it.
So maybe you need to start creating a goals achieved board to go beside your vision board.
I've never heard of what is this goals achieved board?
All those things that you checked off. It's like, oh yeah, been there, done that. You get it off your vision board because you're bigger than that now. Put it onto another one where you look. It's like looking behind you in your footsteps in the sand. It's like, look how far I've come. I've done this, this, and this, and this, and this. That's actually my old vision board where I've checked off probably 90% of it. Now I just look at it and it's like, yep, been that, done that, had kids, got married, moved to somewhere tropical, got healthy, all that sort of stuff.
You retired twice.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
I retired twice. I jokingly say that kind of tongue in cheek because the first time I retired was from traditional work when I was a financial advisor. So I quit that whole corporate umbrella thing. Then I was a full-time real estate investor for a few years. And then I was flying around with Legacy, which licensed the brand Rich Dad at one point. And so under the banner of that, I was speaking at a different Canadian or North American city pretty much every weekend. And then that started feeling like a job. That was a dream career. I was basically a traveling motivational speaker and trainer. And that started to feel like a job because I was living out of hotels every week. And I was preaching this to people in all the different ballrooms across North America. And then I started focusing back on myself. And it's like, okay, I'm preaching this financial independence and retirement and stuff and having choice. But then here I am slogging away, living in airports and hotels. And I thought,
it does take a toll on you.
But I'm still living based in Mississauga. So where would I really like to be? And that's when we thought, let's take that mini retirement to the Philippines. That was kind of a little bit too out there. And then that's how the idea of Florida came up. It's like, okay, if this time in your life is the best it's going to be, how are you doing at it? And then when I really look at it that way, I was like, you know what? I kind of don't like the winters. Why am I still here? And then I was asking myself and my wife, like, how can we have more tropical sunshine realistically? Philippines was out of the picture for us for many reasons. But then Florida is like, it's just a 2.5 hour flight to Florida. So maybe that's a more efficient way.
2.5 hour flight is not as bad as going to some cottage up there, especially during a long weekend. It'll take you 5-6 hours actually to get there.
So distance is no longer measured in kilometers. It's measured in time. Same with wealth, coincidentally. time is not only measured, or sorry, wealth is not only measured in money, it's also measured in time. You can always make more money, you can't make any more time.
Explain a little bit more about that.
People often mistakenly say, like if I say, I'll pause, you fill in the blanks, right? The well-known saying is time is
Money.
That's a myth. And that's coincidentally a good
you
segue
wrote that in your
into my
book.
book. Yeah, time is money is a myth, but also in context, time is money if the only way you know how to make money is by trading your hours for someone else's dollars, i.e., a job and a traditional employee. Time is really everything because you can't make any more time, but you can always make more money. And ironically, the more money you make, the more you can free up your time.
It's so true. Or the more that you can do, like money to me, it's just really an exchange of something.
Mm-hmm.
So I can exchange it for my time or my freedom. I like to have my freedom to do what I like to do. If I want to work today or do a radio show today, I could because I'm exchanging my time. Not necessarily for money, but it's because I've already have enough saved up for the day that I could do what I would love to do. Right? So when you first moved to Florida, did you start with a big house or did you start with a condo? Like, how did you look at it that way?
The strategy that I recommend to people is exactly what we did, what we happened across was the first goal when we went down in October of 2017 was to just get a good enough property. Just a simple property. It turned out being a 3-bedroom, 2-bath condo, second floor walk up, about 1,237 square feet. I don't know why I always remember that number, but I keep saying it, so I memorize it. And hold on to your seats, but the price tag was $97,000.
Oh my gosh.
1,200 square feet, 3-bedroom, 2-bath condo.
What is the worth of that right now?
That one is close to $200,000 now.
Wow.
But this was in 2017. Now, mind you, yes, you look back in historical real estate prices anywhere, and it's like, oh, those were the good old days. But you could still find similar types of deals. Maybe not that price point, but when you know when you're operating as a savvy investor, you can still create the same types of profit. But that was our first property, and what I highly recommend to people is your first property should just be a good enough property, one that you can use for yourself when you're down there, and then you can rent out to others when you're not.
There's a lot of property manager in Florida.
There are, yeah,
like good ones, really, really good ones too.
Yeah, you would have to interview which ones are a good fit for you. But that, by and large, is that's how we broke the ice. Is the first property in Florida as a Canadian, I recommend is a vacation rental, so that it serves two purposes: one for personal use and one as an income property.
So you have how many now in Florida that are STRs, or are they mostly STRs?
I should really find out what that is, but it's like around 10 or so, plus or minus. Yeah.
Oh, are they all around Orlando?
They're all around Central Florida. We have some in Cocoa Beach, which is just due east of Orlando on the Atlantic coast as well.
When I think of Florida, so I told you off air, we're closing on a 5-bedroom. Actually, no, it's a 7-bedroom, 3-washroom, and that one is under market. Like it's for $510. But for a 7-bedroom, if you were to buy that here in Toronto, that's like probably $3 million.
Yeah.
That's
ridiculous.
And we got it for $510, and it's got the pool. It backs onto like a river, so we have gators that you can see that are tenants or future attractions, I guess.
Right.
That'll be for STR, right? So
Great.
If I would highly recommend for people who's wanting to invest in Florida to actually get in contact with you as a coach, especially because they're Canadian. It's so different going to a U.S. market because that area. There's lots of different challenges, right? So what we were talking about earlier.
So Yeah, that's great. Congratulations on that. And
I wish I knew you before that. Well, I did know, but I didn't know about like you doing the snowbird one. It was I have a girlfriend, Irene, and she loved your coaching.
yeah,
She's looking.
she's part of our like advanced support
Yeah.
programs. Yeah.
She's definitely looking.
But the good thing that what you did maybe inadvertently is was again something that I teach is that the first two rules of real estate investing are make money in the buy. So that's rule number one. You buy at a discount, which you did. And then rule two is add value, also known as forced appreciation.
Yes.
Now this is kind of an advanced topic, but you made your money in the buy. You bought it for 510, you said?
510.
510. And then you feel like if you just put some simple cosmetic updates,
Yeah.
it could be worth as much as 700.
Yeah, it should be around 720 around there once ARV is done. Because to be perfectly honest, the Airbnb pictures look a lot nicer than the listing. So the agent, I'm a real estate agent, didn't do any service for this house, but it made good, like it was good to us because I was going, oh, no one's looking at this house. Why is that? But then when you compare the actual pictures, it was like, oh, it's actually really nice. And they made a few boo-boo on the listing as well. It said 5-bedroom, but it's actually 7. But one of the things that a lot of the Canadians should know is the insurance. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's harder to get insurance. I mean, it is a cost of business, but there's things that you need to watch out for.
Right. Well, basically, you're just, you need to shop around
Yeah.
for insurance and then put that in your contingency in your offer.
Yeah.
Subject to being able to find insurance that you're satisfied with within a certain time limit. And then if you get if you get an offer accepted, then you shop around for insurance. And if you can't find one that satisfies you, then as long as you're within the time frame, you cancel it, get a full refund. No harm, no foul.
Well, we talked to probably about 20 insurance agencies, and some of them have like things that we don't even talk about here, like wind or something like that. The other one is they need a 4 points inspection. What's the other ones that they talk about? And also, if you're gonna use it for a business, right? Some Canadians don't even know that you need an ITIN number, or EIN numbers,
right?
Things like that. So that's something that you can probably talk to them when they're doing your coaching, because it does get into a lot.
Oh yeah. And again, the program in a nutshell helps Canadians launch a Florida property investing business. That's the key term.
Yeah.
Not for personal use, not just as a second home that's going to remain vacant when you're not there. It's setting it up as a business. So everything is done through entity structures. And this is where it gets kind of nutty and can get intimidating.
Yeah.
Because people think, oh, it's just easy. I'll just buy a property and whatever. But then you got to think about cross-border taxes. You got to report your income because hopefully you plan on generating an income. Where are you going to report that? In the U.S. or in Canada or both? It depends on your structure. So it really opens up to a whole lot of other things.
Yeah. And the other things that they'll be probably questioning you about is, financing and like different lawyers, because you were talking about the different structure. It's different from here. Here it's, you have a commercial lending, a business, right? But then there you have, there's a lot of liabilities. People sue each other.
Yeah.
So
which is exactly why hopefully you're looking to hold your property within an entity structure.
Yes.
To be able to protect yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So if you were to if you're coming from Canada and you're retiring, let's say 65, it's totally different for somebody who wants to do an STR, right? Like I don't know, maybe a condo for an older couple?
It really depends on the individual's goals and preferences, right? So it could be both and. So it really depends on what's the individual person's goals. But when I was putting the program together, try to figure out how to simplify it for people as much as possible. Like there's a number of things you can do. All the real estate books that you and I have read and heard about, and YouTube videos and podcasts about real estate. Probably 90% of the content out there is for Americans by Americans. So all that crazy stuff that you can do, most Canadians have to throw it out the window because it doesn't apply to them.
It doesn't, yeah.
However, when you understand, again, this is going to go really deep. If you understand the Canada-U.S. Canada-U.S. tax treaty, then and you set up your entity structure accordingly, you can actually, as a Canadian, you can invest in the U.S. as if you're an American. You just got to know how to structure it properly.
And that's the tough part.
That is the tough part.
It's like the nitty-gritty part.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the part that's not as exciting because it's expensive. But Warren Buffett, I'll paraphrase, I've seen a quote saying something like, pay what it takes to keep yourself safe, and then pay whatever it takes to keep it that way. So setting yourself up, especially you're literally going to a foreign land, which is the U.S. is a very litigious society. So what if somebody tries to do a frivolous slip and fall claim?
And that's quite common.
Yeah.
Not just that, the slip and fall, even for like workers, if you have workers. I heard stories about that. So,
which is again why everything should be in an entity structure, so that your personal assets are protected against possible lawsuits.
Yeah. And that's really big in the States.
It is. So, which is again to keep things more simpler and at least for the assumption is people, the viewers or listeners, or maybe just starting out, is first of all, think big picture and think of yourself beyond just somebody who can only make money by trading their hours for dollars. I was talking to a good friend just before coming here, and he was talking about some business opportunities and stuff, but then he's like, oh, but the prospect of doing this sounds like a lot of work. I go, Francis, and hopefully he'll hear this. You're much bigger than that. You don't have to do all the work yourself. How are you going to be able to scale up and do even bigger projects if you're the only person doing it? If you were like a Jeff Bezos in the making, Jeff Bezos is not sitting on the bench programming Amazon.com or .ca website.
No.
He's making higher level decisions, right? And he's got an infrastructure. He hires other people
That's
to be
smarter.
able to do the. Yeah, it's the who, not the how, which is the name of a book that I often preach to other people.
He probably hires people who are like way smarter than him, and he's working on the vision for the company.
Exactly.
So that's what Francis should be doing, or that's what anyone should be doing with their life, is have the vision first.
Have the vision, the picture on the puzzle box. Have the picture, have the vision, and then make the big money decisions that can afford to be able to pay other people.
Is it hard for somebody who is Canadian who has STR in Florida? Is that tough?
Is it tough?
Yeah, is it tough?
It's tough if you have the wrong mindset, right? Again, it depends of, are you a consumer or you're a producer? If you're somebody who buys into the who, not the how, then you hire the property manager, right? My wife and I have been here for the last week and a half, almost 2 weeks, and we're still operating our activities and business interests in Florida. It's not preferred, but we can do it because we have phone and we have email.
Yeah,
right?
That's the beauty of our technology now, and people should be capitalizing on that. But even for if you have a Airbnb, for example, it's basically through your phone anyways.
Right.
And it's just a phone call away to your
And you
property
should not be doing the
manager.
cleaning. You're not
No.
turning over the units. You hire a cleaner.
Yeah.
How do you afford a cleaner? Some people say, oh, cleaners are expensive. I'll just clean it myself. Like, that's ridiculous. Hire somebody. Just charge more to the guest.
It's built in
right.
into the price.
You build it into the price, right? If your business cannot run without you, you don't really have a business. You basically own your own job.
You're basically a employee
Yeah.
who gets paid less, actually.
Right, because you spend more hours.
Yeah. We're going to go on break, and we'll be back talking to Coach. I think we'll talk about his book for the next one. All right.
Does it feel like no matter what you try, you're not getting any interviews? We all know the feeling, but don't get discouraged. We know why it's happening, and we have the solution. You need Resumas. As a job seeker, you may make the mistake of thinking an application is all about you, your experience, and your accomplishments. Today's reality is that applicant tracking system software, or ATS, is used by most companies to compare keywords from the job description with your resume and determine whether you'll be shortlisted for an interview. With ATS doing the initial sorting, the days of using the same resume for multiple job applications are over. To get on the fast track to a job interview, there are two things you'll want to do simultaneously. First, you'll need to apply to every job opening with a customized resume. Second, you'll need to optimize your LinkedIn profile to make it easy for LinkedIn recruiters to find you. LinkedIn is an underutilized treasure trove for job seekers. Over 90% of recruiters today are on LinkedIn, actively looking for candidates. Every minute, 4 people are hired by recruiters on LinkedIn. If your profile isn't optimized correctly, you won't appear in search results when recruiters look for candidates just like you. Managing all of this is a lot, and it may sound difficult. But it doesn't have to be. Start using Resumas. Our AI-based platform makes it easier than ever to customize and optimize everything you need for your job search. Our optimization process reviews your skills against each job description and highlights the required skills in a customized resume. We understand LinkedIn's search algorithms and provide optimized content to update your LinkedIn profile based on your resume and job descriptions. With Resumas, you can build your resume from scratch if you don't have one, customize your resume for each job, optimize your LinkedIn profile for recruiters, and receive daily local job listings so you don't miss any openings. Sign up for Resumas today and get on the fast track to your next job interview.
Are you looking for a place to live stream your next virtual event? MCBN Broadcast Center can help you explore the world of online events. We offer a mid-size green screen room to accommodate your next virtual events, equipped with state-of-the-art broadcast equipment and high-speed fiber internet. Experience a secure and uninterrupted live broadcast during the live stream. MCBN Broadcast Center also offers rental with our own broadcast facility for radio and TV, live streaming programs, and provides you with programming assistance. All these at a reasonable price. Located at 7894 Daffrin Street, Vaughan, Ontario, along Daffrin Street and 407. Give us a call at 905-781-6165 or email us at mcbngroup@gmail.com to book a tour. Heard the name Jezebel de Venecia? The lady is into a lot, like realtor, investor, business owner. Get this, risk taker. But what I love most is money maker. She deals with professionals, people from real estate business, strategists, specialists, as well as influencers and artists. Learn from her. Get the knowledge you need. Catch the latest trends. Know more about buying your own home. She's definitely the right person for these kinds of discourse and related questions. Kaya ngayong linggo, catch the program Bahay Kubo to Mansion. At sa tulong niya, make your dreams and goals. Live on PinoyRadio.com and MCBN.TV.
Welcome back to Bahay Kubo to Mansion, where we're talking to Coach Roel Sarmango. And we were just talking about, I think before the break, I was asking you, how did you become a life coach?
It stemmed from being a financial advisor, having done that for 8 years traditionally. Then I would hear the same or similar goals over and over. Spend more time with family and friends, retire early, travel more, those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. And the only frame of reference that I had was go to school, get a job, save your money, pay down your debt, minimize taxes, and save for the long term. That was the same thing over and over and over. And then, but that's like the 30-year timeline. Mm-hmm. I wanted more like the 3-year timeline, like literally. And I set out on my own to seek answers for myself. I used myself as a guinea pig and then found the answers that worked for me. And then I realized I no longer wanted to preach the 30-year plan, and now I preach more like the 3-year plan.
It's that when you also wrote a book?
Yes. Yeah. I took all the philosophies from having sat down with literally thousands of Canadian families and seeing their income, expenses, their assets, liabilities, listening to their goals, and then seeing all the different mistakes. And from 18 years old to 81 years old and everything in between, I had the really good fortune of being able to kind of use that like my laboratory to be able to see and observe what different philosophies and different mindsets worked and what didn't work.
And the book is called
Undiscovered Riches: How to Find Your Hidden Wealth.
And in there, you talk about the 7 different myths. I think some of them we've already talked about.
Yeah.
The time of money myth.
Time is money myth.
Time is money myth. The saving
and savings myth. Yeah.
And the budgeting myth. Debt myth.
Debt
myth. The retirement.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that.
Okay.
Because eventually that's where I'm heading. Early retirement, hopefully.
Yeah. You know, I think let me give a quick rundown. Time is money myth. We talked about that. Time is everything. Time is worth much more than money because you can always make more money. You can't make more time. And the budgeting myth is you can write it down on paper. It looks good theoretically, but unless you actually follow through, unless you actually have a why, a reason to budget, then it's not going to work, right? So that's the big budgeting myth. What was the one? The savings myth.
Yeah.
You can't save your way to wealth. That's an oxymoron. It's like
that's what a lot of people are. Look, I was taught that way. Like, you got to save.
That's the problem with that is money is energy and it needs to move. If you try to stop the flow of money, stop money from moving, then like a pond, it starts to fester and it actually can become toxic.
Yeah.
But if you become an expert at having money flowing, always constantly moving, picture a babbling brook, right? How clear a stream would be if it's actually constantly moving, right? So money is like energy in that sense. So money needs to move. So don't just hoard money and hold on to it, because on the practical side as well,
the inflation,
it's being killed, right? So that's a huge myth. You can't save your way to wealth. You have to learn how to keep money moving to become wealthy. And then what's the next one? Debt myth.
Yeah.
That we were talking about. There's good debt and there's bad myth.
See that? I like that. I like debt.
Debt as leverage is good. Consumer debt is bad.
What's the difference for the purpose of our...
Yeah, so consumer debt is you buy the nice car instead of the practical car. The car that the lease payments are $1,000 a month. My goodness. What a bad decision that is, right? And then
I see a lot of my clients like that. They live in an apartment and they have like a very expensive BMW or maybe a Honda Pilot. For some reason, a lot of them love Honda Pilot.
Right. And so those major decisions, or buying too much house.
Louis Vuitton bags.
Yeah, it's those major decisions. Like they want the bigger house. They want the bigger... the luxury car, they want the expensive accessories. These are all afflictions of the consumer mindset. Is I trade my hours for someone else's dollars so I can buy stuff that I don't need to impress people I don't like. Right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you just kind of pull that back a little bit, think more of a producer, well, what do I really need to live off on a day-to-day basis temporarily so that I can have my income producing assets catch up and eventually pay for my lifestyle? So that's that. And debt as leverage is a good thing. And that's how big business really works, right?
Yeah.
Anybody in business, any self-made millionaire has used debt as leverage. So debt can be good when used properly.
The retirement myth. Now that's interesting.
That's a huge one, because let me ask you this, Jezebel, who says that you have to wait until age 65 to be able to retire?
I don't know. I heard about Freedom 55 before.
Freedom 55, that's for the agent. That's for the agent, not for the client, right? That's one of the dirty little secrets, because I used to be a financial advisor. Freedom 55 is the agent's plan, not the client's plan.
I know. I see, like, I'm like, oh, maybe I should retire at 55. But for me, I haven't thought of retiring. I do love what I love my job. We sat down with a financial advisor, and the first question they ask, what do you see yourself doing when you're retired, or when do you want to retire? So those are the two questions.
And what was your answer?
I look at my husband, and my husband looks at me, goes, she's never going to retire. She's like, she could work 24 hours.
There you go. So you start with defining, well, what is retirement? Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the big mistake is, oh, retirement is when I'm 65, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to do nothing all day and just live off my investments. Okay, well and good. If that makes you happy, don't let me rain on your parade. But for probably 99% of other people, they're like, I don't want to do nothing. You know, once I quit, you hear stories of people saying they quit their corporate job after 35, 40 years, and then less than 5 years later, they die because they don't have a purpose anymore.
Yeah.
Right? So we got to start with redefining retirement. What if, and let me pose this question to you as well as to anyone listening, is what if you had no choice but to retire in the next 5 years? Otherwise, literally your life dependent. What if you're going to you know that you're going to die in 5 years unless you retire? That kind of urgency, it's like, you'll figure out a way.
You know what? It's making me think right now.
What if you had no choice?
Yeah, what if I had no choice?
Because we don't know when we're going to get hit by a bus, proverbially, right? So why wait till age 65? Why don't we have everything that we want now, or at least pieces of it? So nobody says that you have to wait until you're quote unquote old to retire.
Well, when did that change? Like even now these days, like when did we think that 65 is the actual retirement? Because Canadians are living longer. Well, people are living longer. And at the same time, I see a lot of people still working at over 65.
Because they've been conditioned to do so, right? Well, the age 65, there's a historical thing that's in the book. It's really quite boring. But if you want to geek out on it, there's an explanation as to why 65. But why is it still why is it still perpetuated until this day? I would say it's the big banks and the government. They need Canadian citizens to be working for as long as possible to keep the economy going. So understand that there's that underlying need by the big banks and government for you and the majority of the population to work until age 65. However, the 1% to 2% of people who say, no, that's not good enough for me, there's room for us to be able to retire literally in less than 2 or 3 years.
Wow.
But it starts with redefining what you mean by retirement. For me, retirement is being able to choose whatever it is that you want to do, project to project, spend as much time doing that or as little as you want, and spending the time with the people, whoever you want. So in essence, it's choice. It's choice of what you get to do with yourself.
Yeah. Well, we have 2 minutes left. I would love to talk to you about a lot of stuff. Actually, I have so much stuff to ask you, but we really just scratched the surface. I just have some fast questions. Toronto versus Florida.
In what sense? In hockey?
What do you
lose.
like life?
In life, I
Both?
This is what I have to say, both and.
Both.
Yeah, I love Toronto for the food tours. You can travel the world in restaurants in Toronto.
I have that here. Food scene, Toronto versus Florida.
Oh, Toronto, hands down.
Favorite Orlando theme park?
Disney Springs, because it's free.
Snowmobile or jet ski? Water jet ski?
For sure, jet ski. Come on, give me a challenging one.
What about your fedora hat or a baseball cap?
The fedora hat has turned into a straw Panama hat now, the tropical version.
So you've been in investments now, long-term STR, long-term investments or STR?
Both.
You like
short-term,
them both?
long-term, yeah.
And how are people going to get a hold of Coach Roel?
Snowbirdinvestor.com.
Do you have snowbirdinvestor.com, or I can put it down link below. We'll also... you have a Facebook group? Or you have a Facebook account?
At Coach Roel or at Snowbird Investor on both Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah, okay.
The updates will be there. But then I do also do free webinars probably about twice a month. And then you can find information on that at snowbirdinvestor.com.
Okay, that's easy to remember. Snowbird Investor. And really, my friend Irene loved it. You put them in a nice, one of those, I think she said 10-bedroom home.
Yeah.
And she was like, wow, it was really great.
Yeah, it was like an investor retreat. They spent
Yeah.
7 days just sleeping and breathing and discussing investments.
7 days? I didn't know
Yeah.
it was that long.
Yeah.
And like all the food is included, right?
Most of it is. Yeah. But it's really bonding with other investors, like-minded people. That's really one of the advanced classes that I do, programs.
I like doing those. I just came back from Texas for 2 days because but we're doing multi-unit there.
That's great.
So, and I do like the retreats. And of course, if you're in business, it's a business.
It's not even quote unquote. It's a business trip. So
It's a bit.
it's an efficient
it
way.
is. It's an official business. Yeah.
It's an efficient way to be able to travel more often. So that's why I always say set up your affairs as a business. So when you go travel, especially real estate business, wherever you go, there's real estate there.
What about gators? Do you have a lot of gators in your backyard or on your streets?
On mine, no, but I see them all off the highway quite often.
Oh, really?
They're not that huge all the time, but some of them are.
I see them big. So
But they're pretty docile, actually. If you don't bug them, they're not going to bug you.
can I feed them? Because I
No,
told you.
definitely not.
Will they keep coming back if I feed them?
They might, but I wouldn't recommend that at all. Even if they are docile.
One of the in one of the Airbnb, they said they saw a gator in the backyard. And they found it so exciting. Like that's what they were raving about.
It is exciting because it's a novelty. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, there's an alligator and it's huge. But yeah.
Tapos na. Thank you, Coach Roel. Thank you so much. You drove
My
all the
pleasure.
way up here and from Florida. I feel
From Scarborough.
I feel honored. Thank you so much, Coach Roel. We'll have to do this again because I have so much stuff to still ask from you.
Well, my pleasure. Let me know.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for tuning in to Bahay Kubo to Mansion, and we will air this probably this week. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Heard the name Jezebel de Venecia? The lady is into a lot, like realtor, investor, business owner, YouTuber, podcaster. Get this, risk taker. But what I love most is money maker. She deals with professionals, people from real estate business, strategists, specialists, as well as influencers and artists. Learn from her. Get the knowledge you need. Catch the latest trends. Know more about buying your own home. She's definitely the right person for these kinds of discourse and related questions. Kaya ngayong linggo, catch the program Bahay Kubo to Mansion. At sa tulong niya, make your dreams and goals. Kung may mga katanungan, i-PM agad on her Facebook page, email at jezebeld@hotmail.com or call direct at 416-704-7480. Bahay Kubo to Mansion, hosted by Jezebel de Venecia. Live on PinoyRadio.com and MCBN.TV.